Good morning, everybody. Welcome. I'm here with Colleen,
Hello.
and I'm here with Danny.
Hi, everybody. Good to be here.
And first of all, thank you, Danny, for holding space last week. Uh,
Yes.
loved that. And Colleen and I, and Danny actually, because she was there as well, are coming off of our in-person animal Reiki classes in the woods. So we are like, Colleen was just like, "Wait, what do we have to do when
What
we
am I
first open
doing?
this circle?" Still feeling the
Where am
energy.
I?
My yeah, we are finishing up this week with our Reiki teaching Reiki unit. And so we've got some fun stuff with that. Also, just a few announcements that I wanted to make. Colleen is teaching Karuna in August, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
August 15th, 16th, 17th
thank you.
online.
Yeah, thank you. So she is teaching, I was going to look up the date, but you already had it. So she's teaching Karuna. She's not teaching it again until February of 2026. So if you're interested in Karuna Reiki, definitely sign up for that. And then also she is teaching in person at the Omega Institute, an animal Reiki masterclass in September. So for those of you that are interested in person or just going to the Omega Institute, which is, I haven't been there, but from what I hear, really incredible. Go ahead and look up those dates as well. That's in Rhinebeck, New York. So anyway, just wanted to say those
That
announcements.
is September 21st through the 25th, right?
Right? Yeah,
26th.
somewhere in those dates.
Yeah,
It's on our website. All right, Colleen, do you want to go ahead and get started?
I do. So even though I am still kind of in the woods, and fortunately we live in the woods, I'm in a neighborhood, but getting to the forest is very easy. So we had our animal Reiki class there. But I've really been trying to narrow down today's topic, and it's a big topic, and I can really only cover some of it, and that is Reiki business practices. And Reiki business practices, we've been talking about the skills and blessings and challenges of being a Reiki practitioner, helping you to define what being a Reiki practitioner means to you. Sometimes that's all for self Reiki, sometimes it's for friends and family, sometimes you're volunteering, other times you may want to be professional. So, at whatever level you want to be a Reiki practitioner, we spent a whole 4 weeks talking about different things about being a Reiki practitioner. So then the following month, this month, we have 5 weeks, and we've been talking about how to teach Reiki. And it's the same thing with teaching Reiki. You may want to share it with one person. You may want to be able to, just like even give yourself consistent Reiki attunements for yourself. You may share it with family members or people you know that are, needing it because of illness or other circumstances in their life. And so we've been talking about all the different things with teaching Reiki. And both of these months have been to help you identify what it all means to you and help you kind of, drop into your heart through the Reiki journeys that we do, the automatic writing with the questions and the reflection questions that we do for you to be able to think about what does it all mean for you. Um, and then today, we wanted to wrap it up with, if you want to be professional, what are some of the things to think about? What are some of the things to know about having an actual Reiki business? Having Reiki businesses, first of all, is normal in Reiki practices. So all the way back to Usui Sensei, he established Reiki as a business, which was also common culturally in Japan at that time, that people were doing different spiritual healing modalities and they were often businesses. One of the differences with Yusui Sensei was that commonly it was, or it was more common at that time for whoever was establishing their spiritual healing practice and business to pass those skills on to family, like a son or a daughter that would carry it on in a family tradition. Yusui actually decided to teach teachers. He decided that he would work with his practice and that it would go on after him because he always intended for Reiki to be spread in the world. And so one of the very first decisions he made was to spread Reiki in the world. Then he started the Usui Reiki Ryoho Gakkai. That was the Reiki organization, and it ended up with maybe 6,000 members. And I don't know exactly, I'd have to look it up now. We just did a podcast with Olaf Bohm, who has all that information in his book. We'll put that in a description somewhere. But anyway, one of the other decisions that Yusui made was that he taught teachers outside of his family. He decided he wouldn't keep it as a practice for his family. He also decided that it would not be a religion. That was another part of many spiritual healing practices back in his time, is that they became more of a religion. So he always established Reiki as a business. Dr. Hayashi and his wife all established it as a business, which actually many of the historians reflect and consider that that may be one of the reasons that Reiki actually made it through all of the past history of the last 100 years, evolved to 2025, where we are today. So where we are today with it is 21st century. It's 2025. We have all different things occurring in the world and new innovation occurring. And so when you have a Reiki business, you are going to have a Reiki business established in 2025. It's also really even something commonly discussed that, of course, Reiki energy and businesses are going to evolve their practices and move into current times, which when we talk about the history, we can see in the past 100 years how Reiki always adapted and evolved to the time of the day and the needs of the people. So in today's world, we have, if you are going to have a Reiki business, that means that you are going to be a professional service business. So you would be in the same category, for instance, as an acupuncturist, a therapist, a hairstylist, a massage therapist. Those professional service businesses, one of the major additions with Reiki is that it is also a professional service business from the heart. Without the heart, all the business practices are then, they just go into business practice. At the same time, the heart needs the head because the head has to think about logic and activating your logical intuition as well as your heart intuition, all the way to your gut brain that we talk about, getting deep into the inner knowing. What is your heart intention? Why do you want to have a Reiki business? And then how do you tell people what that means? What are the words that you use? What is the description that you do? That's your marketing. That's what that means is that you are now finding ways to share your vision, to share your heart, the meaning of your practice, and then most of all, to be sharing how what you do makes a difference for the person you're speaking to. So your words have meaning from the heart. They also need the logical mind because there are the practicalities of a Reiki business. So for instance, with a Reiki business, you're going to need to think about, are you in person or online or both? In any of those decisions is something as practical as location. Where are you going to do that from? And then the next piece of it is, what are your resources in order to establish a small business and everything that it takes to do that in the 21st century? Do I keep saying 25th century? Good, I am saying 21st. Okay, 21st century. So what are the things that you are going to do, with location? What are your resources to have the things that you need in order to teach? And what does that look like? Because some of that depends on how you're going to do it. If you are having people come into your home, which, by the way, is very common with Reiki practitioners, many teachers and practitioners work from their home. And so know that that is common. I've always worked from my home. The house that I'm in now, of course, I'm online a lot, but the house that I'm in now, one of the reasons that I absolutely did everything from home is because I was here caregiving my mother. And I never knew what position she would be in. So if I was home and teaching here, then whatever happened with her, I was immediately there and present. So, but there's other reasons for it, and particularly as you're starting your business. Or maybe you are going to find a location in someone else's business. So maybe you know a massage therapist, or you know a chiropractor, or you know a counselor that has offices that you can kind of rent for a certain amount of time. So those are some of the practicalities, and then the practicalities of what are you going to teach? So in our lineage, we are Usui Holy Fire 3, World Peace, Reiki lineage with the International Center for Reiki Training. And so through that, we teach Reiki 1 and Reiki 2. These are all Usui Holy Fire classes. So Usui Holy Fire, Reiki 1 and 2, Usui Holy Fire Reiki Master, and then Holy Fire Karuna Reiki. And as we've said, Robin and I and Sue Strong and Pam Ellen LeBlanc are the authors of the Animal Reiki courses, and we teach those too. For us, in addition, we teach the Next Step Reiki classes, which are a combination of Reiki and shamanic techniques. How do you do everything using, all the Reiki practices, all of your techniques and practices are working with Reiki energy, or, not all, but anyway. So we also teach our Next Step classes, and the one that I mentioned, the Explore the 12 Heavens of Consciousness. So we work with all those different classes. Well, then the next thing that you're going to decide is, what is the structure of that? Are you using existing materials? So if you are part of the Usui Tibetan lineage, or you are part of the Holy Fire lineage, then all of those materials are actually on Reiki.org, and that's what we work with. And actually was one of my decision points 20 some odd years ago of why I actually wanted to be associated with the ICRT. That's William Rand's work. And it was because of the quality of the professional materials that were already available, and I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. I didn't have to write my own. So those are all decisions that each of you makes in how you want to do it. You get to do it, even though we work with, manuals and outlines through the ICRT. It's still always our flavor, still always our voice. And that is a really important piece with all of this. The number one thing your clients and students care about is that you're authentic and sincere, and just use the way you think about things, say things the way it comes through to you. Teaching Reiki is still Reiki your way, even though we're working with an outline and definitely teaching specific techniques that we know work. And so we provide people with the tools they need and the skills they need. But how we talk about that is through our own authentic voice, what it means to us. And then part of our messaging is always Reiki is here to help you find your inner truth and what it all means to you. So, I'm not claiming to be the authority of this is everything that is true. It's about allowing Reiki to help that person find their inner truth, their inner authority. And also to come back to the ability to to help people access their deeper thought, to be able to hear themselves, to be able to really even think about what is my inner truth. So those are all some of the practical things. And then when you have all of those things thought about, you're thinking about when. Like, when are you going to teach your classes, and what does that look like? How often are you going to teach? And some of that can be based on both the time that you have. Are you already working another job, or do you have small children, or you have, you travel a lot? All of the different things and circumstances in your life are going to be part of your consideration for how often you teach and what you teach. Then the number of students that the space that you have holds, or if you are online, that opens up your whole community outreach. So the online part, I'll talk about that in a little bit, because I will tell you the changes that it has made in our ability to connect and create community is huge. And then the biggest part of it is to really discover just how powerful Reiki is, that it truly equally works as well at a distance as it does in person. The classes, when you teach online and you give attunements online, placements, ignitions, and holy fire, they work as powerfully as in person. And so over now 5 years, we've seen that. We've seen that truth. We've seen the results. The results are in. So back to the next thing that you're thinking about is how often you're going to schedule classes. And one of the next considerations with that is, what kind of a Reiki business do you want to have, and what kind of financial support do you need for it to provide with you? It's a two-way thing. You're working with the energy of it for that part of it. So how does that come in a way that can financially support you and your family and to live your life? And so, then you need to think about those things. So that could have timing in the mix. Like, before, I had a very successful business prior to Reiki, and I knew I was compelled. I have to do this. Like, Reiki would not leave me alone. I did not start out with Reiki thinking that I would be professional with Reiki, although a lot of people do. A lot of people do come into the classes because it actually is a training they can receive and truly immediately start practicing and developing a Reiki business, a Reiki practice because of the attunements. The attunements give us that direct connection. And of course, there's ongoing training and skill building that happens. But it is one of the things that we see more and more as people are aware of the way Reiki energy works and the training involved in order to start as a Reiki practitioner. You learn as you go through, as 30 years now that I've been doing it. Well, wait, 25 years that I've been practicing Reiki. And, from day one, I had amazing experiences with clients in their Reiki sessions because Reiki's always doing the work. It's not dependent on me. So you do see more people in the classes now with that intention that they can develop a Reiki practice that can support them financially and support their families financially. But that might be a part-time income for you. It might be a full-time income for you. It might be just extra money for you. And also some of you may not want to charge money, and that's okay too. You don't have to want to, but there's always a lot of little controversy out there that people should not charge money for Reiki. Usui Sensei established it that way from the beginning for a very specific purpose. When you read the history of spiritual healing practices at the time that Usui was developing Reiki, he was very intentional in starting Reiki as a business. So was Dr. Hayashi, so was Mrs. Takata. And so there is truly no historical basis claiming that you should not charge money for Reiki. There's nowhere that it goes back in the history. There's one place that there was some of it when Dr. Hayashi traveled to Hawaii to teach with Mrs. Takata. He was on a tourist visa. He did not have a visa that allowed him to practice a business in Hawaii at the time. So there was a different kind of an exchange through that practice. That was one window. He absolutely had a Reiki business. Mrs. Takata absolutely had a Reiki business. And afterwards, it's just not required. When I first learned Reiki, it was, Mrs. Takata did teach that you always had to charge money for Reiki. So I was glad to find out that actually she also did some Reiki for free. She did some bartering. Also, that's all the way through. We do lots of free Reiki. So now to the next part of it, you kind of establish some of these things and you're thinking about these things. And the next piece of it is something, like marketing. What is your marketing? And to do your marketing, one of the first places to start with that is what we call branding. So branding is your business identity. So if you have a brick and mortar or an actual location, a physical location where you have a Reiki business, you determine what it looks like. As people walk in the door, what do you want them to see? What pictures are on the wall? What colors are you using? What's the ambiance of the space? Essentially, that's branding. So when you consider your branding has everything from the presentation of you. What does that look like? What is the vision that you have for, like, the colors if you're designing a website? What are the colors that you want to use? And so it's easy to find that out because you can pick one color and you can go to AI or you can go to Google. you can go to Pinterest and ask, show me website colors, and it'll give you, whole, Robin, what is that called? Palettes of color so for instance, our branding, we have very specific colors. There's probably 6 to 8 of them that all go together. And so if you notice our website, everything is in those colors. The pictures match. Our social media has those colors. We are specific about the font that we're using. The other most important piece of it is, what is your business name? Make your business name easy to say, remember, and spell. Also, your business name is for the people you're speaking to. Even though it may be reflecting you, it is also what is relatable to the people you're speaking to. And by that, I mean, I have several examples that I've been given permission to use. So one of my students, when she established her business, called it Shanachie Reiki. Well, first of all, it was a Gaelic spelling of the word Shanachie. So every time I went to write to her, or every time I was thinking, I'd be like, what was that name again? Now, what was it? And trying to remember it because the spelling was also so odd for our spelling. And so we talked about that, and she changed well, let me go back to it. The reason she chose that name is because it was really meaningful to her, like a really heart-centered name for her. But then when we talked about how hard it was for people to remember, she went back in, listened with Reiki, listened with her own guidance, kind of visualized it, what is her vision, and she renamed it Reiki Melody. Well, not only is that easy to remember, but it gives you an impression in the moment, like you automatically have a feeling with it. It also was a very easy logo to create, because when you have a website, you have a logo. We've changed ours. This will be the 3rd time. We just had a new website made. It's almost been a year now. We just did a new website and a new logo, new branding, new colors, new fonts, new look, all of those things. And those also, if you kind of take time to notice now from all these things that I'm saying, when you look at our social media pages on Instagram and Facebook and all of our branding, it all kind of goes together all the way to the new emails that we're sending out and also the new blogs that we're writing. So everything has kind of an overall presentation. So at first it seems like that's a little bit challenging to determine what that is, and it is. It's over time. All of this is over time. The first thing I'm going to say is just start. Pick one day, one student, and just start, because we've been doing this for 25 years and we're still doing it. So this is always ongoing, everything I'm talking about. So as you're working on your branding, now you're actually thinking about your messaging that goes in the branding. So that's your content creating. That's copywriting. One of the really great values right now in the style of websites, content development, is people really do not want to read mass quantities of words. People actually prefer more concise ways of looking at something. If you look at search engine optimization, and now we have AI search engine optimization, images, photos are all a part of what is beneficial. What does the photo that you are using, how does that kind of just present you in a feeling of it? So if you look at our website, Reiki Lifestyle, I was surprised because, we had a designer do it. And I was surprised at some of the images because, like, why were they Reiki? How did that, you know, tree look like a Reiki image, or this particular image that our designer chose? And of course, we looked at it all and approved it with her, but how did that, represent what we're trying to say? And at the same time, it's an overall feeling. It's an overall, like there's an overall, just to me, you can feel the heart of it. You can feel how that works. But I will tell you, we've gone through a lot of iterations of our website. So I also don't want to make you afraid that you have to have like this perfect website, because it's an ongoing evolution. So same thing, just start. Just, you can do your own. You can, all of these things that we're talking about now, you can find so much information about all of these topics on YouTube. You can use AI. If any of you are using ChatGPT, you ask, what are my marketing? How am I marketing? What's my content that will explain Reiki to the people I'm speaking to? What is my message? What is it that I actually want to say? So here's what is important and what you want to say. Is you're thinking about the person you're speaking to, who we're going to talk about in a minute, is what is called your ideal client or avatar. There's other names for them too, but ideal client is very common. And who are you speaking to? And you kind of, same thing, have a vision of that. And then they're going to speak to you and tell you what's going on in their life, that what you do can help them with. How is it what you offer with Reiki provides them with the solutions? Now, the solutions can be everything from the healing they need on a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual level. It can come in from that. It can also be they're looking for empowerment to achieve goals they want to accomplish, or to thrive in their daily life, or to be in general well-being and stress-free. So it can be everything that they share with you. So that's the things that you start listening for. What are people asking about? What are people going through? And same thing. You can Google those questions. You can YouTube those questions. You can AI those questions and have it come back and give you answers to that. So you're not alone. We're going to do a journey today for you to ask those questions. So that's the other way that you do it. There's the kind of technology way of doing it and listening to those questions. So the physical ways, and then we also have the metaphysical ways of researching the answers to your questions. So we'll be doing a journey with these. So who is your ideal client? That's another thing you can look up. Who is your ideal client? Your ideal client is the person that you're speaking to. And so what you do, there's questions that you can ask to identify that. And mostly you are your ideal client. And the same things you are going through, the same things of your demographic, those are typically going to be your people that you're speaking to. And you start off with a small group, and then part of what you're always doing is providing resources and building community. Because that's the next thing we are absolutely craving right now, is community. How do we gather together? How do we meet with people? I, for one, love that we can do this online, because I found out in the pandemic I'm not as big a fan of being in the middle of a whole lot of people as I thought I was. I used to be, I've always been social. I truly love people. And so I've always been okay being in spaces with a lot of people. But I found out now that I love too that our community can be this way, because we can all be in our own homes, we can connect with each other. Our outreach is really big and we can be at great distances. So as you're thinking about, building community, that's done through things that we've been talking about, like, having Reiki shares or doing things like this. You could do building community can be anything. You could do a knitting circle and that's building community, and you can knit with Reiki, or Kim Cumbo that's here all the time does Reiki and soul collage and builds community that way, or anything else that you're doing. You could do, a book club and create community. You can create community online through things like this. You can create community online through some of the social media aspects, anything that is bringing us together. And also because Reiki has its, shall we call, unique flavor, we also find ourselves in a group of people that we can talk about the things we talk about freely and feel comfortable that even if sometimes we're a little bit like, oh, that's going way over the weirdometer, we kind of like that too. It's like, okay, that always has a fun part of it too. So the next piece of that is resources. Now, we at Reiki Lifestyle are really able to offer a lot of resources. And that's because we've been doing it for so many years, and also because we have a whole team. There's a lot of us doing it. And even at that, we are, we I hate to call it work a lot, but we do. We actually are focused on Reiki for a lot of hours every day. That's a good way to say that. And fortunately, since we love the topic, it's something that I really want to do every day. Like, I love thinking about this. I love that these are the things we get to talk about. And so then I'm going to finish up because I do want to get into the journey, and it is a good one that Robin's going to do, to give you a chance to ask your questions. I think the other thing I want to talk about is the benefit for you. It is truly the fulfillment of our hearts, all of us. Danny's here with us. Robin and I work together. We have Sue Strong and Sarah Benelli and Kim Parker and Dee Dee Davidovich and Pooji and all different people working with us that help this happen. And so we're really blessed that we get to do this. And we get to do it together, and that we get to do it together with all of you. As you know, we have been doing this Reiki Share for over 5 years now, 5.5 years, to be community. And it is as meaningful to us and our hearts as I know it is to each of us that have this to join, that we do get to come together and join. So we're able to provide a lot of resources. We have articles from 2005 in Reiki News Magazine, all the way from the beginning of my particular journey. Robin's articles, some of Danny's are in there. And we have the ability to have new blogs, new topics that we're covering. And of course, we can do this Reiki Share. And we have our podcast that we can do and we can share. And so it's very fulfilling on the benefit level. It's very fulfilling because our whole focus is on how does Reiki help each of us and all of us and make a difference in this world. And I really believe we're here, not just us, but all of us as community, because we are truly establishing intention that we want love to be a powerful force always, and that we know human beings love greatly, even in spite of all of the outward evidence that sometimes feels like it's challenging. But human beings love greatly, and the earth is beautiful, and it is the first heaven. And we do get to be in that intentional establishment through joining together and doing this. So for us, that's one of the biggest benefits. It also benefits our personal lives and our families, makes a huge difference in our family because we still have all the same things everybody else has because it is truly 21st century Reiki. So I think I feel complete. I want to say one more thing with this. Even if you know right now you're not interested in having a Reiki business, I really invite you to listen for these questions that are in the journey because they're really heart questions. And so it doesn't have to be about business. It can just be let yourself speak from your heart. So join in even if you already know that that's not something you're going to do.